Yo, what is up, YouTube? It's your boy G-reg, man. We back with another video. We reacted to Explore With Us. Detectives left sickened by killer mom's confession. This is part two. Part two. Now, we left off. She's just now admitting that she's a fucking crazy psycho bitch. And she's killing shit. Now, let's see the rest.
God damn it, I trusted you and I need that money because our whole family's going to be kicked out. Don't you hear that my children are going to be homeless? And he was still coming at me. So I go for the box of tools and stuff.
Angela describes the tool she grabbed as a DIY contraption consisting of two short pieces of PVC pipe situated on both ends of a long cable. She claims she would use this device to climb trees.
So you grab this thing, and what do you do with it next? Again, because I'm still, correct me if I'm wrong, I still have you like this, and I'm still pushing up against you with my left hand, right? And this man's a big man, so he's got a lot of force coming at you. But I still have an ice pick in my eye.
And I don't, he's yelling at you at this point. I don't know, it just went so bad.
Okay.
I do remember grabbing that thing, and
okay, good.
Backing it around. I grab the other side of it. He has my arm like that. I grab it like this, and I grab it like that, and then I put my feet. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Angela has been using her drink as a way to alleviate her anxiety. She pauses her story at a very intense moment in order to take a break.
Put my arm down real quick. You let me know when you're ready to continue. Ready? Okay.
First of all, I put my foot like that. I
Okay,
push
go
him
ahead.
back.
You gotta put your foot on my shoulder? Go ahead.
And I'll push him back.
Okay, gotcha. But you have each piece of where is this hand? You have the pieces of the PVC. Each hand's got one. Now pick your foot up. You said you were pushing on me?
My bad, chap.
Okay.
Anyway,
Good.
I kind of slid into his lap.
Okay.
So I could get my feet up like that.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
I used my feet to push the PVC.
You got each piece of the PVC, so now the rope is just around Jimmy's neck.
Yeah, but he was already trying his best to push me off.
So now he's pushing on you. Because you're pushing, but you're countering him with your legs and you're pulling on the PVC pipe. Okay, each piece of the PVC. All right, keep going.
I remember one time my foot slipped and I kicked the ice pick. I pushed it deeper.
Oh, ow. Okay.
If what Angela is saying is true and Jimmy was able to move around and speak with the ice pick in his eye, that would realistically suggest that he was aware and able enough to protect his life if they truly were in a struggle, not limited to knocking Angela unconscious with one blow in the confined space. The proximity between them and the car was so close that, even completely blinded, he could have overpowered her. A detail that the detective has surely picked up on as he continues to try and make sense of the situation. In her reenactment, there is a lot more space for her to move, but in reality and in the confines of the car, they would be much closer, making her story even more impossible.
For real.
At what point did his body go limp? Is that what happened? I mean, did he stop resisting? Did he stop fighting you? Did he stop trying to attack you? I mean, did his arms just fall to the ground? Or did his head just slump forward? Did it slump back? Did he slump into the seat? Or dashboard?
Making horrible, horrible noises.
Angela is putting up a barrier between her and the detective here, not only with her arms and hands, but also by having her knees up. She's also eye-blocking, which can be a sign of discomfort with the topic. It appears that she's literally trying to block out the image or the memory of his king and king. It's likely that the noises she's described reflect true memories that she doesn't want to relive, and these thoughts are causing her distress.
I don't even know how the pick got in the other eye.
Somehow the pick gets in the left eye? Okay.
I think I did it just to make sure.
Placing "I think" before the claim turns it into a selective memory statement. She's likely just hesitant to admit that she intentionally stabbed him in the other eye, since it clearly wasn't necessary once he was strangled. Selective memory statements also make it easier for the suspect to turn around later and change their story. And, as you'll see later, Angela will attempt to do just that.
So you think he was dead, but to make sure he was dead, you took the pick out of his right eye and jammed it in his left eye.
Damn.
And you say your motioning is if you reamed it around. Any blood get on the seat of the car?
No.
Well, where did the blood go?
I pushed his head back and it kind of started dripping. And I'm panicking and I don't know what to do.
Notice that she doesn't directly answer the question of where the blood went. An inspection of Angela's car, a sea green 1995 Saturn, revealed that besides the bag of blue gloves, very few traces of the crime scene were present inside, including minute traces of blood. On top of that, all the blood tests done on the car and the articles inside came back negative. How Angela was able to keep blood from getting all over her car, especially provided that he was fighting her with the ice pick in his eye, is quite suspicious. But she seems to have a quite interesting and disturbing explanation for the absence of blood.
I look around for something and in my goodie box I find saran wrap.
Okay. So you find some saran wrap.
Well, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the best thing to keep the fluids out of my car. I wrapped his head.
Completely around his entire head with the saran wrap? How did you work your way around the pick? Was the pick still in his eye? Did you remove it from his eye?
No, I just pushed it through.
You pushed it all, even the handle?
No. I made a hole in the saran wrap.
You made a hole in the saran wrap. So now his face
made a
is...
hole anyway.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So his head is saran wrapped, but in his left eye, there's the pick still sticking out of his eye. Now, do you seat him back in the chair? I mean, right now I'm facing you. This is kind of as I'm imagining as he was at the end. So...
I push him over and he's like slumped against the door.
Law Tigers is a great partner when there is issues that come up where you do need a lawyer. Law Tigers is right there. They're always...
So now I'm like this.
Well, no, he's more like
this.
Mm-hmm.
She then grabbed a shirt from the back of her car to place over Jimmy's head. After that, she proceeded to drive home with his lifeless body sitting up in the passenger seat, his head encased in plastic wrap, and an ice pick jutting out from where his left eye should be.
I parked it in the driveway, ran in the house, opened the garage with the light off, and then I opened his door. He's already starting to fall out.
Yeah, because I'm like this. Kind of my legs are facing this
I put
way.
the pool down.
What pool?
It's a swimming pool.
You're describing like a
kiddie pool.
Okay. A blue kiddie pool, they said?
Yes.
Okay. And what'd you do with the kiddie pool?
I put it under him.
So it's outside his door on the floor of the garage. Okay, so now you open the door, he's starting to fall. What happens?
I get it back in my side of the car, close my door, and push against the back, and
Finish getting him out of the car.
yeah, I kick him out. I push him out
Okay.
with my legs, because that's the only strong part of my body.
Okay. You're doing good.
I feel like
You're just telling the truth.
lock the garage and tell the kids to stay the hell out of the garage. The next day, I tell the kids to stay in their room, put the other pool down, and I put salt in the other pool.
Where'd you get the salt from?
I bought it.
Just for this?
2 weeks ago, I don't know.
There's a long pause before Angela responds with a selective memory statement. It's likely it already occurred to her that the detective can find out when she purchased the salt by simply checking receipts or security cameras, and she'd be right. This evidence would become a big point of contention at her trial after some shocking discoveries are made.
So you buy some pool salt. and you put it in one of the blue pools. What was the purpose of putting salt in the pool?
I don't know if I don't know anymore.
You're almost there. Come on, Angel.
Another selective memory statement and more face blocking. She may be afraid to discuss why she used the salt, as it speaks to the amount of thought put into her actions. She could be trying to avoid talking about what she did to the body, as it's generally an incriminating topic.
Did you grab a hacksaw? And what did you do with the hacksaw?
I don't know.
How'd you cut them up? Legs first? Arms first?
I don't remember. I just started cutting.
Because you wanted to dispose of them?
Angela physically turns her body away from the detective, a clear visual communication that she wishes to close herself off from him and the question he's asking. Surely she recognizes that her actions at this point in the story are extremely out of the norm and don't exactly scream self-defense.
Remember earlier when you told me that you had put them in pots?
That was after they were in the pool.
So you took arms, legs, and head and put them in the other kiddie pool with the salt. And then you mentioned pots. What was the purpose of putting those things in pots?
To cook
What?
them down.
You were trying to cook them down to bone?
I don't know why.
Before this interview began, Angela agreed to show officers where she had disposed of evidence in Jimmy's remains. His silver flip phone was found directly next to the entrance sign of nearby Campbell Park. It was in a Ziploc bag which had been just barely covered in mulch. The SIM card and battery were missing. Angela admitted that over the last 2 weeks, she'd occasionally excavated Jimmy's cell phone and put the battery into it, just so it would ping off a cell tower and give some indication of his presence. This was to make it appear that Jimmy was still alive and checking his phone periodically, when in reality, he'd been dead for days. His ID was found in West Cryle Park, also buried in a Ziploc bag behind a dog waste receptacle at the back of the park. She then took them to the active construction site where she discarded a hacksaw in a pile of scrap metal. However, when she led the detectives to the spot where the pile had been, it was no longer there.
What is a home warranty? It's a service plan that helps cover
What the
costs
hell?
when parts of your home systems and appliances break down due to normal wear and tear.
She also directed them to the site of State Road 415, where she pointed out a green and black tarp and a piece of carpet from her trunk. Next was Austin Cemetery, where Angela took police to several dozen black garbage bags dumped along and within a wood line. Detectives noted that a number of the bags looked newer than others, particularly the bags with the red drawstrings. When they opened these bags, they discovered all manner of horrible contents. Inside were human remains and bones, a blanket wrapped inside of which was a box cutter, articles of men's clothing, empty bags of pool salt, and an empty bag of ice, among other things. The discarded clothing they found matched the description of what Jimmy was reportedly wearing when he was last seen leaving work. A few of these black bags were found much deeper in the woods, but they were ripped open and empty. Also found deep in the woods as well as on the ground around the bags were relatively fresh human bones, suggesting that scavenging animals got to the remains long before police did. They also found a pair of blue rubber gloves amidst the leaves in a small clearing. A bag of the same blue gloves was later recovered from the trunk of Angela's car. Among the most haunting of their findings was a whole human foot. It had been severed cleanly about 4 inches up the leg and had been horribly disfigured by decay, predators, and the elements. That brings us to the last piece of evidence the detectives found in the woods of Austin Cemetery. The piece that would undoubtedly haunt them and everyone present to witness it in the courtroom for years to come. In a few of the crime scene photos amidst the black garbage bags lay a single large stock pot. The pot is tipped over on its side, revealing a sickening yellow and brown pool of coagulated human remains. What clearly used to be a thick liquid had hardened into a gelatinous mush that featured all shades of nauseating colors. Sticking out of the big pot, halfway submerged in the soupy remains, was a single large bone, similar in size and shape to a femur. Angela goes on to explain more, but, likely realizing just how egregious it all is, suddenly stops.
What did you do with the head? How did you try to boil it? Did you try to boil it down? Did you try to...
Yes, sir.
What you're doing, Angel, you're telling me the truth.
Yes, but I'm doing so without a lawyer.
You're doing so because you want to tell the truth.
Angela appears aware that talking without a lawyer present might hurt her case. This acknowledgement will actually make it more difficult for her to later claim that she shouldn't have been interviewed without representation, as she clearly recognized the risk, yet continued to talk without requesting a lawyer.
How did you do these things in the kitchen with the kids not knowing?
I made them stay in their room.
You told me before that you tried to put one of the extremities in the oven and that it went horribly wrong.
I put 2 of them in the oven.
Were they legs or arms?
And a foot.
A foot? 2 feet? A foot and what else?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Chunk.
When did it happen? Smoke? Smell? Did the children come out from their room when they smelled this or notice the smoke? Did the smoke alarm go off? What happened?
I don't have a smoke alarm.
Okay.
This is another example of stacking multiple questions on top of each other, and why it's not a good tactic. Notice that Angela only addresses one part of his question, completely ignoring the part about her children. In this situation, the suspect will often neglect to provide an answer for every part of the question, either because they lose track of the questions, or they're being intentionally evasive.
I turned it off, and I opened up the back door.
Cool. Did the kids come out of the room? Both or just one or the other?
I can't remember. It's like, what's that awful smell? I'm like, get outside. I threw him straight out the front door.
It's unlikely that she truly doesn't remember whether one or both of her kids responded to the smell of the smoke. She may be hesitant to admit more details involving her children, as it would cast her and her parenting in a worse light. Most will be horrified to find out that Angela did in fact have her kids with her when she carried out her devious plan, despite them having no knowledge of the crime whatsoever, making them victims of her erratic decisions as well.
What were you hoping was going to happen by putting the foot and this other body part in the oven?
I was going to try to cook it to ash. Or
Cook it to burn to ash, cremated? And when this didn't work, what did you do next?
I put in bags.
Okay.
See beyond our walls. Look closer. There's more here than you could possibly imagine. We look deeper into cultures and communities to understand what it means to be.
Could you try to boil any other body parts?
I don't think so.
Saying everything out loud is likely making it all sound more horrific and real to her now as she demonstrates signs of overwhelm. However, Angela hasn't displayed any sorrow for Jimmy's death, so it's more likely that she's reacting to her anticipation of the punishment she could be facing. More than that, she surely recognizes that her actions are inhumane and will have the worst effect on what others think of her and her story.
What did you do with the children? Did they come back in and go to their rooms and then you continued where you left off? Or, I mean, you didn't want them to find out what was going on, obviously. So...
We stayed outside for quite a while talking to the police.
Talking to the police? Okay. Did the police happen to come by, or were they there because of the smoke? What happened?
No, they were there looking for Jimmy.
Oh. So that was pretty inopportune timing then. What happened with the police?
They didn't come inside that day.
Okay.
If police had gone inside her house that day, it's unlikely that they would have been able to execute a proper search anyway. Following her confession, police were able to execute a search warrant on the home. After animal control removed an aggressive dog from the residence, officers stepped inside and were met with a jaw-dropping sight. Peeling walls, dirty and broken appliances, animal feces, stained clothes, and discarded papers covered nearly all areas of the residence. The home reportedly smelled rancid and looked as if it hadn't been cleaned in years, which made it extremely difficult and hazardous to search through. Inside the garage, however, police recovered paper towels with reddish-brown stains on them. Just outside, on the ground, was a 2-inch dull red stain that appeared to be blood. There was something else potentially troubling about Angela's house. Officers photographed an upside-down pentagram that had been scrawled on one of the front windows. The adjacent window pane brandished a drawing of the all-seeing eye, generally depicted as an eye inside of a triangle. Also graffitied across the outer garage door were crosses accompanied by Jimmy's initials and the acronym RIP, a cruel and ironic grave marker. It wouldn't be long before the world would know the atrocities that took place inside Angela's discombobulated home.
Now, what did you do with the remains?
I put them in bags. Put the bags on the side of my garage.
Were they heavy?
Very. And then I pulled my car in the garage. And I loaded them up. I was in such shock. I don't remember.
What did Matt think he was loading into the car?
A deer. I told him I hit a deer.
You mentioned something to me before about a wheelbarrow. How does that come into play?
There's stuff in there.
Before it was in bags? So you took things from the kiddie pool with salt and put it into the wheelbarrow.
I asked for a lawyer like a long time ago.
I know you did, and I asked you if you understood your rights, and you said that you wished to speak with me without the attorney. Do you still wish to talk to me? I want to continue to talk to you, but do you want to continue to talk to me without a lawyer? Yes or no?
Wisely, the investigator pauses the interrogation to establish whether or not Angela is making a request for legal counsel. Seeking clarification is generally the best approach in an interrogation, even though current federal case law doesn't mandate police to do this. When dealing in matters this fragile, it's always better safe than sorry.
Cooperated completely.
You haven't. Nobody says that you haven't.
What am I being charged with?
I'm not being charged with anything at this point. I'm just trying to understand the story.
What am I going to be charged with?
Well, that I can't tell you because I don't know. I don't know the rest of the story.
Such a change of heart at this point seems rather abrupt. She seems unwilling to continue the interview, which is odd seeing as she's practically reached the end of the story and already admitted to all criminal culpability. Her slouched posture and positioning of her face and her hand are nonverbal indicators that typically communicate shame or protecting oneself due to fear.
I'd like to continue the conversation.
You know I haven't slept for like so long. Sleep deprivation can cause all sorts of things.
But I haven't deprived you of sleep. I've fed you. I've given you breaks when you wanted breaks.
You have a cigarette now?
Success starts when the right people surround you. Teammates who push you. Leaders who lift you. And
Are you what?
May I have a cigarette now?
Would you like to take a break and have a cigarette?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I need a lawyer.
Say again?
I need a lawyer.
You need a lawyer? Okay.
Angela has now given an unequivocal request for an attorney, meaning the questioning must immediately cease. It does, and she's escorted back to where she was being held. Despite the police's best search efforts, neither a head or a torso were ever found. What was gathered was DNA tested and confirmed to be the remains of Jimmy Schaefer. 2 days later, on April 23rd, Angela was arrested and charged with Jimmy's murder. With her in police custody once more, Pagliari visited Angela for one final attempt at filling in some blanks.
There are no tricks here. There are just some things that physical evidence suggests to me, and there's some things that you said that don't fit what the physical evidence says. Well, you can't talk about elements of the case right now because you have invoked your right to an attorney. You see what I'm saying? We can talk about it. Maybe, I don't know if this right now is the right time to talk about it because of the attorney thing. And I'm not going to jeopardize the case. I'm not going to jeopardize your rights.
I've already been way too stupid. I should have been attorney from the beginning.
The detective's concern of jeopardizing the case is correct at this point, as further interrogation could lead to inadmissible statements at the very least. Angela made it clear this time around that she had no intention of indulging the detective in any more talk of the case. Angela pleaded not guilty on the grounds of self-defense, and a year and a half later she stood trial, and it was there that even more disturbing details about Jimmy's fate finally emerged. Angela's defense team based their argument on Florida's stand your ground laws, which state that an individual has the right to use deadly force to protect themselves from an attacker. Given that Jimmy supposedly threatened to end her life and attempted to physically attack her, she was within her rights to kill him. However, Angela's credibility quickly evaporated, partly because she suddenly decided to change her story on the stand. During her testimony, Angela contended that she only stabbed Jimmy in one eye, not both. She claimed that the ice pick was still in his right eye when she got home, and that she didn't remember stabbing him a second time in the left eye. However, in the confession footage, which was also shown to the jury, Angela is the one that discloses to the detective, unprovoked, that she stabbed Jimmy in the other eye, and confirms that she did it after she strangled him in order to make sure he was dead. Things only worsened for Angela when the prosecution presented a more believable theory. They suggested that Angela was furious with Jimmy for his poor money management skills, and how he constantly took advantage of her. They even insinuated that because of how she covered her tracks, the murder could have been motivated purely by greed, the desire to have Jimmy's Social Security checks all to herself. Police were able to secure surveillance camera footage from Walmart where Angela was seen shopping with her 17-year-old son and 14-year-old daughter around 3 a.m. on April 4th. She purchased spray bottles, OxyClean, hacksaw blades, and 2 40-pound bags of pool salt. The following day, she was caught on film at Walmart again with her daughter, buying concrete cleaning solution and ammonia. The most incriminating of all, though, was that the plastic wrap and the blue gloves were purchased from Walmart just a few hours before the murder, while the ice pick was purchased sometime before that. During one of these trips to Walmart, Angela had Jimmy's phone and was texting her own phone as well as Jimmy's concerned family members, staging the text messages that Angela would later show police. So, what actually happened the night Jimmy died? The prosecution proposed this theory. Angela, along with her 2 kids, picked Jimmy up from work at 3 a.m. on April 3rd. It's possible that Angela's 17-year-old son's voice is the masculine voice that the mechanic heard beckoning Jimmy to the car. Angela drove Jimmy to her house, where they shared a few drinks, as they occasionally did. What Jimmy didn't know was that Angela had spiked his drink with copious amounts of Flexeril, a muscle relaxant. The drug belonged to her sick father, so she knew that the side effects of Flexeril included drowsiness and dizziness. They finished up their drinks and she helped Jimmy into the car. She then drove him to Austin Cemetery and parked in a concealed area next to a tree. By the time they got there, Jimmy was incapacitated from the Flexeril. This way, Angela was able to easily stab him and strangle him to death. This sequence of events was corroborated by Angela's daughter, who was 14 years old at the time of the murder. Angela had actually confided in her own child that she drugged and murdered their neighbor after they'd picked him up from work that night. Given that proof of premeditation was now present, her charge was bumped up to first-degree murder, in addition to 1 count of tampering with evidence and 1 count of mutilating a dead body. It definitely didn't help her case when investigators located a folder on her computer titled Yummy Gore that consisted of images of mutilated bodies and body parts. Also, quite damning and not to mention stomach-turning was Angela's court testimony that in order to fit Jimmy's head in the pot for boiling, she had to remove the ice pick from his eye. Not surprisingly, her stand-your-ground argument was rejected by the judge. Angela's goose was, for all intents and purposes, cooked. On December 5th, 2014, Angela Stolt was found guilty of all charges. But there was still one question remaining. Why did she cook him? The only explanation Angela gave for why she cooked Jimmy was that her history of paranoid and delusional thinking led her to believe that she'd be taken away from her kids if anyone found out. So the evidence of her crime had to be dissolved. It should be noted that, according to analysis from a qualified team, Angela showed no evidence of delusional thinking, unreasonable paranoia, or psychosis of any kind during either of the interviews. She was attentive to all the questions, and though she was guarded and clearly burdened by the situation, she communicated coherently and recalled details of the crime very clearly. Angela was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, followed by 15 years and 5 years for the mutilation and tampering charges, respectively. But it doesn't end there. Angela is still adamant of her innocence. She's created a website by proxy where she claims that James Schaefer was trying to kill her, and that she defended herself against him, which resulted in his death. She also claims that she temporarily lost her mind following in the murder, and that Volusia County Police and Florida prosecutors twisted facts.
She's crazy, guys.
Our mission is
sorry, I'm playing Clash right now, my bad.
To the client,
a new mode came out.
Value for each case. Any problems anybody has, we make sure that we treat them just as we would our own family members.
Since most of what she knows of the Miranda Act, quote, came from television programs where after a suspect requested an attorney, and the next scene an attorney appeared, she maintains that she wasn't properly equipped to handle the situation she found herself in. Angela is in the Lowell Correctional Institution in Ocala, Florida. We reached out to Angela in order to get her side of the story, and though she initially agreed to an interview, she later changed her mind. Still, she agreed to speak to us through email and answer some of our questions. This first email was just the beginning of some interesting correspondence. Angela told us that prior to the incident with Jimmy, she'd been in 2 abusive relationships, stating, I was diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety disorder, and severe depression. My kids were my life, and for them I was able to put the abuse behind me and try to give them a peaceful life. When asked if she received counseling when she first arrived in prison, Angela stated that she did not. She said, I was put on so many psychotropic drugs that I almost blew all my appeal deadlines. I wasn't able to fully participate in my defense or comprehend everything that was happening until it was too late. This very well may have been the case, but it's important to note that Angela appears to be emphasizing that she's a victim and is very self-focused, something we saw even more so in her later letter. The investigators, knowing I was often delusional, continued to coerce me to talk to them. I believed I was cooperating, but I right literally hung myself. Life now? Hell. I'm locked away from my kids. I wasn't there to finish my most important job in life, and my children suffered for it most of all. When I was taken away from them, they emotionally and academically froze. For years, they still haven't completely healed.
We're cooking on 2v2.
Angela agreed to write us a letter detailing more about her relationship with Jimmy, and what she now claims really happened that night. I was never afraid of Jimmy before that night. I was aware of his past arrest for assault, but he'd never shown me that side of himself. If he had, I wouldn't have put myself in such a vulnerable situation. Because I was his SS payee, we had a joint banking account that only I was supposed to have access to, but he kept finding a way to withdraw from it despite me changing the card, account number, or passcode several times. He came to me for help. I called SS and they wanted authorization to work, which I had, and a bank statement showing that I was properly handling his money by paying his bills. That was a problem. I knew he was not going to like this, and there was going to be an argument.
I had to play one game.
So I drove him to my favorite haunt, Austin Cemetery. I told him we need to talk and went on to remind him that he'd made a complete mess out of the account, and in order to make it right, I had to call the bank and get CCA canceled. I can't remember it all, but he was screaming that he can kill me. It was his money. Then he started me. We struggled. I tried to get away, but he was too strong.
That arm.
This arm?
That he put. And he started like putting his thumb.
Oh, into your shoulder, like your pressure point?
He greatly overpowered me. He was still screaming, spit flying. I started seeing stars, flashes of light. I knew from past experience that I was about to go or die when he shouted that he was going to go to my house, kill my kids, and get his paperwork and the bank card, which he knew was in my bedside table drawer. The threat of killing my kids pulled me back from the brink and gave me the strength to fight for my life so I could save theirs. My hands weren't strong enough, so I reached behind my seat into a box containing camping gear that we were collecting for our upcoming camping trip, and grabbed the first thing I touched, which I thought was a screwdriver, but turned out to be an ice pick, for fishing, quick humane kill, and hold for hook removal, and threatened him with it by putting it in his line of sight.
This hand was coming towards my face. And I went like that with it.
Okay, so I was coming at you, or Jimmy was coming at you.
Yes.
I got you like this, and I'm moving towards you, and you took the pick and stuck it in my right eye?
Yes, sir.
He didn't let go. He was enraged. I was terrified. I stabbed him in the eye. There's obviously more to this story. She's got that right. For now, however, this is where our correspondence ended.
Wow. Wow. What a fucking story, man. It's crazy, bro. Yeah, if you guys like the video, make sure to like, up, and sub.